We go to number 11, Bulk Stewart Master Plan.
Okay, so similar in the stance that it's a second time before you, and then what you have before you right now is in regards to the Bulk Stewart Master Plan related to adopting an ordinance to approve the pre-annexation zoning for the Bulk Stewart Master Plan. So at your last meeting in December, we did a review of the general plan amendment, the master plan, and DAs regarding the 741 acre plan area in the south side of Yuba City. We went through the history that this has been an ongoing project, longstanding project that we're getting towards over the hump, I would say, towards getting this completed with the most recent action in December by your council to approve the EIR, the general plan amendment 1405, the specific plan amendment 1605, and we introduced this ordinance to approve the pre-annexation zoning that basically expands the city's wide zoning to be consistent with that amended general plan amendment and master plan. So with that, I have a few slides that show the boundary area, the phases, Newcomb Ranch, Kells East, and the remainder, the land use. And with that, I recommend adopt an ordinance approving the pre-annexation zoning 14-04 and waive the second reading. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any public comment on the matter? All right. Ma'am, if you have a question, we'd love to hear it, but we need to ask you to come to the podium, please, because we're on TV right now with microphone needs to pick you up. Your question was if there's housing involved, yes, there is. But if you have more than that, I need to ask you to come to the podium, please. Sure.
I live on Carson Drive. It's not near, but I live on Carson Drive near River Valley High School, and I noticed we don't have a park. And I was just wondering if there's going to be a park in this community, because I think communities, once they get a certain size, they should include a park.
All right, ma'am.
Jessica, Montana.
Jessica, Montana. And you say you live near River Valley High School?
That's not near. It's just my concern that future housing developments should include a park, depending on their size.
It can. I believe it contains more than one, but we'd be happy to get you a map of the proposal. All right. Ben, would you maybe be able to help her out with that? Or?
Yeah, the Bulk Stewart Master Plan definitely considers the general plan policies regarding the minimum parks, and this project's actually overparked in the sense that it's more than those general plan thresholds due to dual use on some of the open space for the storm drain ponds and how we propose to maybe use different levels of those ponds for fields or different activities. So in this land use plan, the green pretty much shows community parks versus neighborhood parks for kind of the smaller areas. So all of the green are potential parks and open space.
Does that help you out? Okay, good. Any other questions up here? All right. Ben, I must say that I've got a couple calls. I know it's not in the area here. Actually more than a couple calls, and we've also had it publicly expressed the concern for traffic at the school there. A developer at least willing to talk about maybe helping out with some improvements for traffic by chance? I'm just kind of curious where they stand.
Yeah, I would definitely, I hear your concern. I've definitely heard those in the office from many different individuals regarding Stewart, just with that being a really narrow county designed road that gets this flux of traffic to the school and nobody can kind of get out and it's kind of dangerous. And so the developer's representative is here tonight also, but it's really going to come down to the city and how we work through this finance plan and what we establish for the city's goals when we start using those impact fees. it's going to be phased in where they're going to start on Bogue Road toward the north and then move their way south. So there's not going to be immediate traffic where it comes down Phillips, because this Phillips Road's not going to be connected for years to come. But when it does, then you have this impact where residents will come here and add to that school problem depending on how they get built and then come over. And so we're going to need to work at a staff level with Public Works and the development on the timing and then what improvements we're going to be able to do, and when those impact fee credits come in, how, if we're going to prioritize certain parts of Bogue Road and Stewart so we alleviate some of those issues. And so definitely concerns are heard, and at the staff level, when the developments start to move forward, we're going to have to figure out how to prioritize those and figure out what the actual improvement's going to be.
Okay, so you're aware of the concern with it's been heard, and it's going to be in the list of priorities once we get the impact fees coming in.
Yeah.
All right. Grace, did you have something?
Thank you, through the mayor. So, Ben, you and I have talked about the potential timeline of development. Actually, that first shovel that we hopefully go out there and take a picture, because I'm not shoveling a whole lot. But when are we heading there? When are we doing that first phase one?
Sean might be able to answer some more specifics on it, but currently we're developing less than 50 single-family residential homes at this time. We're proposing, I think they talked about 100 homes a year to at least make this feasible to happen.
Right.
And Sean, how many homes are with Newcomb? I can't remember.
Sean Menard with MHM Engineering,
Right.
1204 East Street, Marysville. What we said during the city council meeting was approximately the first shovel or first house you'll see built out here is going to not occur in 2021. 2020. It'll probably occur sometime in 2021. Just if everything goes smoothly, all the entitlements, we still have to go through LAFCO. We're not done yet, so there's still a lot of hurdles permitting to go through. So the earliest you'll see any ground movement is 2021. Then it'll probably take a 5, like Ben said, the absorption. And again, one of the things I don't know which button is to push. Is it the arrow? Top one? Our client's property is just this area. Newcomb is 160 acres. Cowles is 90 acres. The whole project is 740 acres.
Right.
So we're only a small portion of the whole thing. But when I'm talking is Newcomb and Cowles, and the earliest you'll see it is 2021. But it could push into 2022. But it's just, we're going to try to do everything we can while this market is as good as it is. We have to work through some, all the fees and all that we're dealing with. So
Right.
it's an ongoing project.
Well, people keep asking me that when's the development to happen, and to when would these parks and the roads. So potentially, we still haven't even gone through the impact fee changes of what we are potentially maybe as a council, so that in the financial reporting that to demonstrate that you're able to actually develop all this is still all of that is still occurring. So for community members, thinking, oh, this is going to happen within, it could be a potential year to 2 years, 3-year stretch if things get tied up in areas, but hopefully not. And hopefully there'll be some housing that's available for people that can afford them here in this area. Thank you.
Again, to reiterate, so 2 to 3 years before shovel one. Right. And then as the absorption rate comes down, we move forward.
Mr. Moody, through the mayor. The mayor mentioned the level of comment. The comments that I continue to receive are the traffic in front of Riverbend School. And my understanding is we own, or we are responsible, for the north portion of that road, and the county would currently, and the county's responsible for the south portion of the road in front of the school right now, correct?
So I'm looking over at Diana. I believe we own the full right-of-way in front of Riverbend Elementary School. And so it turns into county jurisdiction. but on the south side of the road. So for that segment just in front of the school, we take care of maintain north and south, or east and west.
The level of public feedback for the access on Stewart Road in front of Riverbend is significant. And so perhaps Mr. Menard can talk about, or you can, as far as phasing, and I think you talked about it, is, the use of those fees will be a decision that's made by a council at the time those begin to be collected. But that is an issue for this particular, it seems to be a significant issue for those folks who want to comment on Bogue Stewart Master Plan, is that, the access to the school and the potential traffic, because it's an issue now, it's only going to get worse. What's the city's plan to address that on the short term as this project begins to develop?
So I guess being on the spot, not kind of totally understanding all of the concerns, I've heard a lot of concerns about just the volume of traffic on Stewart Road with it being a narrow, low visibility road. And so currently it's in Sutter County's jurisdiction with it not prioritized as a priority project. When this project, if Bogue Stewart gets approved, master tax exchange agreement goes through, sphere of influence gets updated, and this area comes into the city, and it will come in through phases of annexation. With the development, we're going to have to look at where can we widen, where can we prioritize, as a city with the small pot of impact fee money that we have. How do we look at that segment, and how do we address it? Can we do some striping at the school for parking schools, so there's not that conflict where sometimes where people park, it's a real wide area on the north side and they're having conflicts. We could take a close look in that area where there's easy requirements. Also with the water line that we're proposing for Berry School, we're proposing to put it on the shoulder, on the north shoulder. So that would provide a 5-foot wider walking area. So basically when we do the trench rehabilitation for that water line, we'd basically add a bike lane, also widening the road. So taking a look at those and how to use the available funds that we have to address those concerns for widening and the access. And I could be happy to work with the Public Works Department and see if we could come up with some different plans. If you have any specific concerns, besides the narrowness. But it gets a little complicated now for the area that's in the county's jurisdiction. But definitely we could look at anything that might be relevant regarding the drop-off pickup that we can handle now.
I guess the history goes back to the time when I was still involved with the city. Is we place these schools, and then they end up being huge choke points. And I'll use Blevin Road as an example, and even Bridge Street School, et cetera. What was do you know, and maybe this is a topic to bring back, but what was the plan when Riverbend Elementary School was developed for the roadways in front of it? Certainly they had to consider the growth that was going to. Is there a plan in the can already for access down that road to accommodate the students?
So the plan for Riverbend School is that road ultimately gets built out to be a standard that meets a collector with basically a lane in each direction with a turn lane. So it's wide enough to handle that volume. A lot of times historically what happens with schools is that it's zoned for a school or the school comes in and picks a site, but there's no review at the city level. It just goes straight to the state, they do what they want, and then all of a sudden we're stuck with it and kind of handling it.
Very familiar with that.
And which is frustrating, and we've been trying to work with the schools more proactively because over the last decade and a half, you have seen with this push from the schools that they're starting to realize, hey, they need these drop-off lanes and different things that actually are functional. And so they're starting to have some retrofit projects come through once in a while. I think down on Lincoln, at Lincrest, it was a Lincrest school on the east side there, had a little project. And then again, they're strapped for funding and they always push the problem onto the city, but it's really partially created because there was never an initial review to handle that. And so we proactively work through our traffic department and PD to see what we could do to facilitate it, but it stagger the times, you name it, open to any idea to try to alleviate the problem.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Ben. How'd you like that? On-the-spot question like that. It's important, though, the traffic is, it's a very valid concern, so hopefully it's on the high end of the priority list when we come down to that point.
Yeah,
to have
and what I've
something
been telling concerned citizens, Mr. Teague, neighbors up and down Stewart Road, is that really, currently there is no plan. It's in the county. There's no funding for it. It's not prioritized. With this plan, at least we've set a standard for what that road's supposed to look like through our general plan and the master plan, and we're going to collect funds that could actually be utilized to that. And then we're hoping through those various projects, we can start whittling away at making those improvements.
Very good, thank you. All right, back to council for any action recommended.
Through the mayor,
Yes, sir.
move to adopt an ordinance approving pre-annexation zoning RZ 14-04 and waive second reading.
Second.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you very much. We'll go to number 12.